Folks, there are certain things that we can say on the show only over at Daily Wire Plus. So if you want the full, uncensored show, like everything that I'm actually saying about this topic, you need to go over to Daily Wire Plus and subscribe right now to get the full story. Well, folks, we will get to what I think is the biggest actual political scandal of our lifetimes that everyone is apparently just ignoring in 1 second. First, we're just 42 days away from the most pivotal election of our lifetime. The truth has never been more critical. With Daily Wire Plus, you get uncensored daily shows from the most trusted voices in conservative media, live breaking news, hard-hitting investigative journalism. Don't wait. Subscribe now at dailywire.com/subscribe and stay informed. Okay, so when I say that the biggest scandal of our lifetime is unfolding right before us and nobody is noticing, do you remember this guy named Joe Biden? Do you remember him? He's the current president of the United States. And you'll recall that just a few weeks ago, he was the Democratic nominee for president of the United States. And then he did a debate with Donald Trump, and he completely collapsed on stage and demonstrated to the entire world that he actually is senile, that there's nothing going on upstairs, that he does not have working synapses, that the neurons are not firing. And that became clear to literally everyone, so much so that the entire left-wing press, which had been on Joe Biden's side, decided he had to go as the nominee, but not as the president. And here is the point. The current president of the United States, the most powerful man on planet Earth by every available description, that person is effectively dead. That person has been dead for years at this point, and he is clearly dead right now, which means that the vice president of the United States, in a typical working scenario, would have a constitutional duty under the 25th Amendment to supplant the president of the United States. Kamala Harris has a constitutional duty today to oust Joe Biden. This man is not functional. That does have ramifications for the United States and for the world. Yes, thank God, the founders built an incredibly durable system in which many of the cogs in the machine can be replaced and the machine continues to function. However, the world is becoming a more dangerous place, not just because Joe Biden was the president, but also because he currently is the president. And it is astonishing to me how we are all supposed to just forget that he is the president of the United States today. Today. He is not alive, folks. He is spending half of his time sleeping on a beach in Delaware and the other half of his time wandering around into walls at the White House. So tape emerged on Friday. The first cabinet meeting, public cabinet meeting, has been held in quite a while. But Joe Biden wasn't leading that cabinet meeting. Joe Biden was not leading that cabinet meeting. The person leading the cabinet meeting was Dr. Jill Biden. Now, Jill Biden has been elected by no one. She has never won a single vote, sort of like Kamala Harris with the nomination. That's another story. Jill Biden literally has no public support to be doing what she is doing right now. Now, MSNBC just reported this as First Lady joins President Biden in cabinet meeting, but that's not what's happening. She's literally sitting at the head of the table at the cabinet meeting and leading the cabinet meeting. This is a person with a doctoral degree in education from like the local college who's never been elected to a position ever, but did marry Joe Biden some decades ago. And now she is the sitting president of the United States. This is insane. At least Edith Wilson had to pretend that Woodrow Wilson was still sentient, even though he was a vegetable. Jill Biden isn't even pretending. This is a scandal, folks. Did you elect her? I didn't elect her. I didn't vote for Joe Biden, but he's still my president, which means my president is brain dead. He is not with us any longer. He is not. Here is the tape of Jill Biden leading the meeting. And Joe Biden is sitting there slack-jawed, staring off into the distance at death approaching. And we're all pretending this is normal. The entire media have decided this is not interesting. It is not worth covering because the only thing they care about is maintaining the functioning of the Democratic media machine. That is all they care about. It doesn't matter who's at the head of it. Slap a new coat of paint on it, call it Kamala Harris, doesn't matter. The presidency, however, does not work that way. The president has plenary power over, say, foreign policy. So who the hell is filling the seat right now? Who is the president of the United States? I know it's not Joe Biden, but maybe it is. Here's the footage from the other day.
For somebody who has worked on women's health issues for her whole career, frankly, as a teacher, but also as the second lady and now as the first lady, she said one of the things that struck her the most was the inequities in medical research, funding for medical research for women. So this is an important priority of hers.
And Joe Biden is sitting somewhere at the middle of the table, just looking randomly at things. He is not the president of the United States. He gave another speech over the weekend in which he was supposed to, apparently, be introducing a leader from India, and he has no idea who he is introducing. None. He just loses it right in the middle.
And now, who am I introducing next? Who's next?
Distinguished guests, the Prime Minister of the Republic of India.
By the way, he's from a small country like ours, with low population, but he's become a good and decent man, a good friend.
What the hell is wrong? I mean, we know what's wrong. He's not with us. By the way, this is not an obscure world leader. Modi is the leader of the most populous country on the planet. On the planet. And he can't remember who he's supposed to introduce. And he starts yelling into the microphone. That is the person who is currently the president of the United States. How is this not the biggest scandal in modern American history? It's literally happening in front of your eyes, and we're all supposed to pretend it means nothing. Now, why? How the hell is it not the biggest scandal in modern American history that the president is not with us brain-wise? I'll tell you what else is a scandal. Paying too much for your cell phone bill. Not quite the same kind of scandal, but for you, kind of a big scandal. The big phone providers want you to believe you need unlimited data so they can overcharge you. Here's the fact. Most of you are buying way more data than you will ever need. With Pure Talk, my cell phone company, you can choose how much data you actually want and you can save. Listen to this. For just $35 a month, you can get unlimited talk, text, and 15 gigs of data, plus mobile hotspot on America's most dependable 5G network. You know what you can do with that much data? You can browse the internet for 500 hours, stream 3,000 songs, or watch 30 hours of video. That's if you're not on Wi-Fi. Here's the best part. When you switch your cell phone service to Pure Talk on a qualifying plan, you get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. That's access to the full library of DW Plus movies, series, and documentaries, including Lady Ballers, What is a Woman, Mr. Bertram, and Run, Hide, Fight. Plus, uncensored ad-free daily shows, 1 year free of our kids' platform, Bentkey, and your very own free Leftist Tears Tumblr. But the only way you can get this special offer is heading on over to puretalk.com/Shapiro or call and mention my name. Stop overpaying for your cell phone plan. Go to puretalk.com/Shapiro today. Switch to a qualifying plan. Get 1 year free of Daily Wire Plus Insider. This is a question we should all be asking. Why are we supposed to pretend this means nothing? The answer is pretty obvious. The reason we are all supposed to pretend that it does not matter that the current president of the United States is non-compos mentis. The reason, again, we were supposed to notice it when he was the nominee. The minute he became not the nominee, then it became irrelevant, and we never heard about it again. And in fact, Kamala Harris still goes on national television and pretends he is fine. She literally went on the only joint interview that she's done with Tim Walz, with Dana Bash, and she literally said, he's fine, everything's great. He's doing amazing. He's clearly not. So why maintain the myth? Why maintain the myth? I mean, I understand that there's the shiny object of the election over here, but there's this thing called the United States government with a person at the head of the presidency, of the Article 2 branch of government. And that guy is not with us. So why? Why the cover-up? Why are we back to everything's fine, don't notice what's going on in front of you? And the answer is, if we were to notice that Joe Biden is non-compos mentis, the solution to that is not to replace him on the ticket. The solution is not to make Kamala Harris the nominee. The solution to that, constitutionally speaking, is to make Kamala Harris the president. So the question becomes why? Why won't she do it? I mean, obviously, everyone knows what's true. Everybody understands that Joe Biden is gone. So why? Why isn't she just declaring the 25th Amendment along with the cabinet and putting herself in his place? Why? And there are two reasons. One is she is afraid that the zombie corpse of Joe Biden will wander the landscape and explain to the American people just how crappy she is as a revenge move for him being ousted from the presidency. That's part of it, but that's not really the story. The real story is this. Kamala Harris can only run and win if she is not perceived as part of this administration. If she is perceived as having nothing to do with the policies of this administration, that's the dirty secret of this entire campaign. The dirty secret of this entire campaign. Kamala Harris cannot run on the Biden record. Joe Biden couldn't even run on the Biden record. Even if he were fine, he could not run on his record. His record is trash, which means her record is trash. She can't run on that record. She has to run, and she's trying to, as a change candidate. The problem, of course, is she is not a change. And if you spend one iota of a second thinking about it, you know she's not a change. But she needs the patina of not being the current president of the United States. She can't politically remove Joe Biden and put herself at the top of the White House without losing the election, because then she's responsible for the things. She wants all of the credit for being VP and none of the accountability for anything that her entire administration has done as VP. The minute she supplants Joe Biden, the facade falls away. The Potemkin village that is this administration falls away. And Kamala Harris is just the person. She is the person responsible for this trash policy. That is why Joe Biden has retained his seat as the president of the United States, despite the fact that he is brain dead, folks. Look at him. He's not. We all know it. Why are we pretending? The entire reason he was moved off the ticket is because he's brain dead. But he's still well enough to be the president of the United States. By what standard of the imagination is that true? By the way, the rest of the world knows he's brain dead. Why do you think it is that China is getting so aggressive in the South China Sea? Why do you think war is breaking out in the Middle East again? Why do you think that Ukraine has been moving very aggressively into Russia? The answer is they know Joe Biden is dead. Why do you think America's opponents haven't actually cut a deal in the face of all of those aggressive moves by America's allies, for example? The answer is they know Joe Biden's dead. It's just going to maintain at this pace from the American administration because there ain't nobody at the helm. The American ship of state is basically just bobbing along on the waters with no one giving it direction. All in order to lie Kamala Harris into the White House. That's what this entire thing is. Here is the reality. Joe Biden's record is terrible. I mean, truly egregiously awful. If you look at his foreign policy record on everything from Afghanistan to Ukraine to the Middle East, it is all garbage. It is all trash. She can't run on it. There's no way for her to run on it. So the thing she has to do is continue to maintain Joe Biden as president and then pretend she has nothing to do with him. That's the entire game here. She has to claim credit for all of the supposed accomplishments without taking any of the blame. The best way to do that, pretend that he's still the president of the United States. And so far, it's been working because the American people are not spending more than one iota of time thinking about the simple fact that she's the current vice president of the United States. And let's be real, the Trump campaign has done a bad job of tying her to the Democratic platform and to the Democratic Party. She is seen by the American public, at least large swaths of it, as a sort of freewheeling radical who came in out of nowhere. And that's why, according to the latest New York Times Siena College polling, she is seen as a change candidate. Now, again, that is logically impossible. She cannot be the change candidate being the sitting vice president of the United States. That's insipid. And yet, she's been able to do that. Why? Because the media obviously have been lying. They've been saying that she has nothing to do with Joe Biden. She can switch her positions at whim. It's totally fine. In fact, that's their entire campaign. MSNBC's Stephanie Ruhle says as much. She says, we don't need to hear any policies from Kamala. Stop asking for policies from Kamala. It's useless.
I just said I'm not going to vote for her. Kamala Harris is not running for perfect. She's running against Trump. We have two choices. And so there are some things you might not know her answer to. And in 2024, unlike 2016 for a lot of the American people, we know exactly what Trump will do, who he is, and the kind of threat he is to democracy.
Okay, notice the insane juxtaposition right there. We know exactly what Trump will do because he's been president. Well, by that same token, we know exactly what Kamala Harris will do because she's the vice president. But according to Stephanie Ruhle, we know nothing about her. She's a mystery wrapped in an enigma. So the entire media are pretending we have no idea what Kamala Harris believes or what she will do, but she's currently the vice president of the United States. It is all a lie. But I'm not lying when I tell you that, when it comes to your kids, they get sick like all the time. This happens to me all the time. The kids are fine. They're bouncing off the walls. An hour later, they're really sick. You can feel helpless, not to mention it can turn your plans upside down, especially if you happen to be on vacation. After thousands of customer requests, the wellness company has just launched the Kids Medical Emergency Kit. You no longer have to frantically bother your pediatrician on the weekends. Now you have 6 critical medicines at your fingertips for issues like COVID, strep throat, and ear infections. The Kids Emergency Kit has been hand-selected by the wellness company's medical board. This kit makes being a parent a little bit easier. It includes an EpiPen for those critical moments when your child's life could depend on it or one of their friends. The 40-page guidebook is like having an expert by your side, guiding you step by step, even when the doctor's office is closed. Ordering this kit is a lot easier than driving to a doctor appointment, urgent care, or hospital. Just a few clicks, fill out an intake form, it's delivered to your door. No more late-night pharmacy runs, no more scrambling when your child needs you most. This isn't just a purchase, it's peace of mind. It's the confidence that you're ready for whatever life throws at your family. Don't wait until you're in the middle of a crisis. Order that Kids Emergency Kit today. Be the hero your child deserves exactly when they need you. Go to urgentcarekit.com/Ben. That's urgentcarekit.com/Ben. Use promo code Ben. Save up to $40 off plus free shipping. urgentcarekit.com/Ben. Promo code Ben. This entire ticket is running as dissociated from the current administration that she is the vice president of and has a constitutional duty to be president of under the 25th Amendment since the president is dead. Tim Walz, the vice presidential contender and weirdo from Minnesota, with the weird hand wave emotions from the side of a freeway used car sales lot. So Tim Walz, he kind of let the cat out of the bag the other day. He was speaking in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and he says, we can't afford 4 more years of this.
We can't afford 4 more years of this.
Okay, what is this? Now, everybody's making fun of him. The entire Trump team was making fun of him because they're pointing out 4 more years of what? She's the current vice president. But that's the whole campaign. They have to promote the lie. Joe Biden doesn't exist. In fact, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris never existed. The current president of the United States is not Joe Biden, and it's not Kamala Harris, and it's not Joe Biden. The current president of the United States, according to Tim Walz, is Donald Trump. He's responsible for everything happening right now. And again, so far, it is working. It's at least working to the extent that this race is effectively a dead heat. And Nate Silver is breaking down the numbers. I use Nate's numbers because, again, I think he is the best poll analyst in the business. Right now, he gives Kamala Harris a very slight electoral college probability and a much heavier popular vote probability. Right now, if you look at the polls, effectively speaking, she has a better shot of winning Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin than Trump does. Although each one of those races is inside the margin of error. If you take a look, for example, at Pennsylvania, which is the state of those that Trump is most likely to win, if you look at Pennsylvania right now is looking like a very, very slight advantage for Kamala Harris. The latest poll from Marist College has Harris and Trump tied, but Trump hasn't led in a poll in Pennsylvania for about a week. The last one they had him leading was the Insider Advantage poll. The New York Times Siena College poll shows her up 4 points right now. That same New York Times Siena College poll, as we'll see, has Trump leading in the Sun Belt states. This is the most likely tipping point state in America because Pennsylvania has 19 electoral college votes. So Harris, if she wins Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, she wins the election with the exact same electoral map as Joe Biden, assuming she also wins Nevada. And even if she loses Nevada at that point, then she still wins the election. It gets her to 270. So the point is that it's working for her much better than it worked for Joe Biden. The thing about Joe Biden is that he was losing to Donald Trump before his mental collapse, before he completely collapsed on stage. Steve Kornacki over at NBC's Meet the Press, he was doing his analysis, and he was showing a brand new, again, NBC News poll that shows that Kamala Harris has now vaulted to a 5-point national lead. Again, this is still inside margin of error, but these are much better numbers for Kamala Harris.
You can see that the race has been completely reshaped since Harris took the top of the ticket.
Completely. And one of the things powering that lead we should note, too, there's a pretty pronounced gender gap at this point. Harris among women is leading in our poll by 21 points. Among men, Trump is leading by 12. That is a 33-point gender gap.
Okay, first of all, I don't think that's the final gender gap. I think Trump ends up winning men by significantly more than 12. However, Kamala Harris leading by 20 among women, that would not be a giant shock. So what does that mean for the Harris campaign? Hide her. Hide her. The entire campaign is about hiding her, making sure that no one ever connects her to anything going on inside the Biden administration, pretending he's still the president. Again, that's the reason she hasn't gotten rid of him. If she gets rid of him, she is now automatically responsible for everything happening. Automatically. So they have to keep the dead man in place. They have a corpse in the Oval Office, and they just wheel him around and pretend he's the president just so that Kamala Harris doesn't have to be. As always in her political career, she avoids all accountability and all responsibility while pretending that she's a transformative figure. That is the name of the game for Kamala Harris. There's some talk right now from Axios that VP Harris and Trump are both considering a 60 Minutes interviews that would air back-to-back on October 7th as a campaign grand finale, which is a weird campaign grand finale since that's October 7th. I noticed that October 7th is a month in advance of the election. The Harris campaign is apparently in active talks with 60 Minutes. Trump sources say an interview is TBD. Apparently, the reason that they are considering 60 Minutes is because one of the people who is theoretically being considered for the actual interview with Vice President Harris is a friendly. Apparently, the person they are considering is Bill Whitaker. Whitaker interviewed Harris last fall, quote, providing a familiarity factor to help entice the campaign. They also invited the VP candidates to participate. So it'll be another one of these. Her parents come with her to school principal's office in order to help her through the interview. The entire game is pretending that she's not what she is. That's the entire game. Now, it's working because, again, she's raising tons of money because she ain't Joe Biden. Her fundraising right now is really outpacing Trump's. According to Axios, coordinated efforts in August totaled $360 million for Harris and her committees, compared to $130 million for Trump's campaign. The Harris campaign raised nearly $190 million directly in August, which is more than the $130 million the Trump campaign, RNC, and other supporting committees coordinated effort raised in August as well. The Trump campaign raised $45 million in August, but they have about $135 million cash on hand. So she is really outpacing him in the fundraising. It is also unclear whether the Trump campaign is doing what it has to do in terms of door knocking and getting out the vote. According to the Associated Press, Republican activists in swing states say they've seen little sign of the teams tasked with knocking on doors and turning out infrequent voters on behalf of Donald Trump, raising concerns about the party's presidential nominee relying on outside groups for an important part of his campaign operations. According to the Associated Press, Trump and the Republican National Committee he controls opted to share get-out-the-vote duties in key parts of the most competitive states this year, with groups like America PAC, that'd be the organization supported by Elon Musk, or also TPUSA, that's the organization run by Charlie Kirk. It's difficult to demonstrate something is not happening, but with fewer than 50 days until the November 5th election, dozens of Republican officials, activists, and operatives in Michigan, North Carolina, and other battleground states say they have rarely or never witnessed the group's canvassers. In Arizona and Nevada, the Musk-backed Political Action Committee replaced its door-knocking company just this past week. This is a major problem. You got to actually do the work to get out the vote. If that doesn't happen, then Trump is not going to be able to overcome even the small gaps. This election is going to turn on extremely small gaps. But folks, it's not enough for you just sort of to believe that the Trump vote is going to show up. You actually have to get out there and do the work. You have to go out and do the door knocking. You have to do the on-the-ground work that is required in order to win an election. Don't blind yourself to that. But you should be using blinds.com. You like the pun, did you? Remember the old way of shopping for custom window treatments? You'd wait around all day just to get an overpriced quote from a pushy salesperson. Those days are over because blinds.com invented a better way. We at the Shapiro household got our blinds from blinds.com. They've been a huge game changer in elevating our home for the upcoming holiday season. Listen, I love blinds.com. I can trust them when it comes to having a wide selection, accessible experts to talk to live, and installers who know precisely what they're doing. Whether you're a DIY warrior or you prefer to use their professional install services, you can count on blinds.com to deliver top quality window treatments. From premium woven wood to motorized shades and more, you can get unlimited custom window treatments installed for just one low cost. And at blinds.com, there are never any hidden fees or showroom markups. The price you see on the website, that's the price you pay. Now, I know some of you might be hesitant about ordering window treatments online, but with blinds.com's 100% satisfaction guarantee, you don't have anything to worry about. If you're not completely satisfied with the style, color, or fit, they will always work to make it right. So here's what you need to do. Shop blinds.com right now. Get up to 45% on select styles. That's right, save up to 45% at blinds.com. Rules and restrictions may apply. Now, the positive news for Donald Trump is that Donald Trump is still running, again, very, very even in this election. This election is a toss-up. By every available metric, this election is a toss-up. The brand new New York Times Siena College poll in Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina shows Trump with leads outside the margin of error in Arizona and close in Georgia. He's still leading in North Carolina by a couple of points. We'll have to see if the complete collapse of the gubernatorial candidate Robinson over there is going to affect Trump in any serious way. Robinson, despite all of his dicey history, still has not stepped out of the race despite trailing in polls by 10 points or so. Suffice it to say, if Trump wins Arizona, Georgia, and North Carolina, he needs to pick up Nevada, and then he also would theoretically need to change the Nebraska Electoral Commission. In both Nebraska and Maine, the electoral votes are divvied up by congressional district. So it is possible to win one and not the other, even though Nebraska is a deep red state. So Nebraska has 5 votes. One of them is competitive for Democrats because of the congressional districts. So there's been some talk about changing that to move that 5th vote in Trump's favor, theoretically, in the election, which would mean that if he were to win Nevada and then he were to get that additional vote in Nebraska, for example, then he would be able, presumably, to get to a tie ball game, 269-269, and then you get the weirdest election in American history in which it gets solved by the House of Representatives, led presumably by Speaker of the House Mike Johnson, in which case that extremely, extremely narrow House majority turns Trump into the president. Okay, now, on the other hand, theoretically, Maine could go the other way. So one of the things Nebraska is trying to do, presumably, is delay changing that 5th electoral vote so that it's just a winner-takes-all state until it's too late for Maine to do so and switch it to an electoral vote that is winner-take-all because Democrats win Maine, counteracting the effect of Nebraska. So that's all a mess. Bottom line is this election is really, really, really good, despite all of the attempts to paint Kamala Harris as a godsend, despite all of the attempts to turn Kamala Harris into something magical and wonderful. Now, what could change the results of this race? What could change the results of this race are, one, a real change in focus by the Trump campaign. She is Team White House. Team White House sucks. She owns all of it. That's all. Repeat it over and over and over and over. Every time she says she has a plan, the answer is you're the current vice president, you didn't do it. And every time she tries to dissociate from Joe Biden, you say you're the last person in the room, you're responsible for all of it. That's the entire campaign from here to November 5th. That's the only thing Trump should be saying, J.D. Vance should be saying. Vance has been doing a good job of this, Trump less so. That is the only thing that matters. Now, Trump has been saying he won't do another debate. Again, I think that is probably the right move, given the fact that he does not perform well in these debates. Let's be frank about this. His debate performance against Joe Biden was not stellar. It's just that Joe Biden knocked himself out by not being an alive person. Joe Biden almost literally knocked himself out on stage, staring agape into death's maw. It wasn't like Donald Trump provided a sterling performance, and then against Kamala Harris, he laid down and died. I mean, it was just a bad performance by Donald Trump in that debate with Kamala Harris. It's that simple. Will another debate help him? I'm not sure. I don't think so. Because I don't think he necessarily has the discipline to do what he needs to do in a debate against Kamala Harris. Even though, again, I think she's an eggshell skull. I think if you flick her, she falls apart. But here he was yesterday explaining why he's not going to do another debate. He has said, I offered her one on Fox News and she won't do it, which is true.
The problem with another debate is that it's just too late. Voting has already started. She's had her chance to do it with Fox. You know, Fox invited us on and I waited and they turned it down.
Okay, so he is right about that. Also, would it serve his purposes to debate? Probably not. Run a disciplined campaign. Now, Trump is also ruling out a 2028 run. He was asked about that. If he loses this time, will he run again? He should not run again. If he loses this time, he shouldn't, because if you run 3 presidential elections and you lose 2 of them, at that point, it may be time to move on. Obviously, I want him to win. I hope he wins. I think there's a very solid possibility, 50-50 shot, that he does win. He needs to be focused on the here and now. I think that is what Trump is doing right here. And whether he runs again or not, he said the same thing in 2020, by the way, and then obviously that didn't hold true. So will I hold him to his word here? Doubtful, but here he was yesterday.
If you're not successful this time, do you see yourself running again in 4 years?
No, I don't. No, I don't. I think that will be it. I don't see that at all.
Okay, now, I think that's his way of locking in for this election. Discipline, focus, and discipline. That's it. Discipline, focus. That's it. That's the entire campaign now. I know it's murky what will actually happen if Trump loses. You find yourself pondering the future a lot around election season, but while considering the nation's path, it's also time to think about your inevitable future, death. Now, I know that's pretty dark, but the reality is you do need life insurance. Enter Policy Genius, the country's leading online insurance marketplace. They're experts at helping you secure your family's financial future quicker than Kamala Harris can change her policy positions. Even if you already have a life insurance policy through work, it might not offer enough protection for your family's needs. It might not follow you if you leave your job. With Policy Genius, you can find life insurance policies starting at just $292 per year for $1 million in coverage. Some options are 100% online and let you avoid unnecessary medical exams. Impressive, right? Their platform combines cutting-edge technology with human expertise. You get access to quotes from top insurers, find the best rates, receive guidance from licensed professionals throughout the process. Remember, Policy Genius works for you, not the insurance companies. Their recommendations are based on your needs, not commission structures. Let Policy Genius help you plan for your family's future, because true peace of mind comes from knowing you've taken care of what matters most. Be ready for the future with Policy Genius. Head on over to policygenius.com/Shapiro or click the link in the description. Get your free life insurance quotes. See how much you could save. That's policygenius.com/Shapiro. Well, the media keep covering up the fact that Kamala Harris is the current vice president of the United States, and that's why the election remains a dead heat. Well, maybe you want to bet on it. Maybe you don't. If you do, BetOnline might be the place to do it. Beyond traditional sports, BetOnline gives you the option to bet on political events like the outcome of this presidential election. Even odds right now, man. Or if you're a sports fan, BetOnline makes sports betting more accessible and convenient than ever before. Now that football season has begun, BetOnline is the best place to be. This weekend, producer Jess got in on the action by betting on the Kansas City Chiefs. That means that both she and Taylor Swift are jumping for joy this morning, or at least she's jumping for joy and Taylor Swift is pretending to care. With just a few clicks, you can place bets on your favorite teams or events from the comfort of your own home. BetOnline prides themselves on their higher than average betting limits of up to $25,000. You can increase your wagering amounts by contacting their player services desk by phone or email. So, while you're watching your favorite team or the news on upcoming elections, Why not spice things up with a friendly wager over at BetOnline? Go to betonline.ag to place your bets today. Use promo code BEN for a 50% sign-up bonus of up to $250. That's betonline.ag. Use promo code BEN. BetOnline. The options are endless. betonline.ag. Use promo code BEN for 50% sign-up bonus of up to $250. Now, here's the thing. The other thing that can decide this election, it's not going to be debates. It is going to be the Trump campaign focusing in, and it's also going to be the exogenous events that shape any election cycle. A lot of stuff is happening in the world right now, and a lot of it is happening because Joe Biden is not alive. Now, I'm not sure how much of it's because he's alive and how much of it is because he's just a bad president. Frankly, I'm not sure how the policy would be radically different on foreign policy were he alive. And he was alive for parts of his administration, and his foreign policy was a disaster. In fact, there's a case to be made that America's foreign policy has actually gotten better since he died. Again, I'm speaking figuratively here, folks. He's not actually dead, but since he became non-compos mentis and clearly not in charge of his own faculties or bowels. We'll get to more on this in just 1 second. First, see the groundbreaking documentary from Matt Walsh that became his first cultural phenomenon, What is a Woman? That's the film that started it all. And the best part, you don't actually have to go to the theaters to watch it. You just need to join us as a Daily Wire Plus member. You can watch it on demand anytime you want. That hit documentary tackles one of the most debated questions of our time. And Matt Walsh's journey to find an answer has captivated audiences across the world. See What is a Woman? That was Matt's first groundbreaking documentary for yourself. Go to dailywire.com/subscribe. Join today. Use code DW30 for 30% off your new Daily Wire Plus membership. Okay, in just 1 second, we'll get to Hillary Clinton, who is once again suggesting that alternative information not provided by the legacy media should be shut down. If you're not a member, become a member. Use code Shapiro. Check out for 2 months free on all annual plans. Click that link in the description and join us.
Republicans are Nazis. You cannot separate yourselves from the bad white people.
Growing up, I never thought much about race. It never really seemed to matter that much, at least not to me. Am I racist?
I would really appreciate it if you left.
I'm trying to learn. I'm on this journey. If I'm going to sort this out, I need to go deeper undercover.
They gon' say I'm racist.
Joining us now is Matt, certified DEI expert.
Here's my certification. And what you're doing is you're stretching out of your whiteness. This is more for you in this field. Is America inherently racist?
The word inherent is challenging there.
I want to rename the George Washington Monument to the George Floyd Monument.
America is racist to its bones.
So inherently.
Yeah, this country is a piece of
white
folks,
white
trash, white supremacy, white woman, white boy.
Is there a black person around here? There's a black person right here. Does he not exist?
They gon' say I'm racist.
Hi, Robin.
Hi, what's your name?
I'm Matt.
I just had to ask who you are because you have to be careful.
Never be too careful.
They gon' say you racist.
In theaters now. Rated PG-13.